Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegades Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom. I know I look very enclosed. For those of you who don't know, I'm a 6'6" man, and I'm in an area that my elbows can touch the side wall, so that means it's about 3 foot side to side. I'm actually in a dormer, and it's really echoey. But there are some logistics that make this a better office because of the way the space works and other things. So I'm going to work on it. You'll hear. Does it sound echoey to you?
A little. That's okay.
It's cleaning off these walls. I'll have to see if I can find my headset tomorrow and see if that dulls it a little bit. But I'm going to have to talk real soft to contain the echo. Yeah. Yes. Good luck with that. So how are you, Tom, on this lovely Thursday?
Doing very well, thanks. All is well. Can't complain.
Awesome. Love it. So, what are we doing today, Tom?
Well, first off, this is today's Antidote, in case you didn't know, especially for those of you on the podcast who might have turned this one on, although I'm not sure you would have turned this on if you hadn't known exactly what you were turning on. So you know what you're doing. You know what we do and why we do it. And our goal ultimately is to talk through a topic and come up with one thing, an antidote for each of us that will help you. And we know that if you are willing to share your thoughts and ideas, that your antidote might be able to help someone else, and that really can make a difference. And I guess the other question is, and we talked about this yesterday a little bit, is asking for help. We're talking about how renegades roll as a part of a conversation of better understanding this concept of renegades. We talked about last week. If you haven't seen it, go back and listen or watch last week's episodes where we talked about being a renegade and what that means. And this we're trying to go a little deeper into it this week. And so our topic, which we will get to in a minute, is celebrate. It's because renegades celebrate. And there's a lot that goes into that. And so what we're going to do first is we're going to model that a little bit because we believe that it has value, and we try to do this every day. So as we look at this and think about it, what are you celebrating today, Bob?
I am celebrating that I actually asked for help, and I also accepted help. And if you listen to our broadcast or watch our broadcast yesterday, you'll see that is not an easy thing for me to do. And you can if you find me on Facebook or go to the Ring and Renegades Facebook group, I talk about running this morning and having trouble putting on a really strappy vest that's reflective. And a woman came up and said, "Do you need help?" And my first reaction was, "What the heck are you doing, lady? Leave me alone." And then my second reaction was, this is an opportunity to get someone to help me. So she straightened the things out, and she attached it. And it was funny. She even patted me on the shoulder like, "All right, you're ready." Like I was going to jump out of an airplane with a parachute. But it was just a beautiful moment that I don't think I would have ever allowed had we not talked about what we talked about yesterday. So that, to me, this is the renegade thing, right? Being a renegade is trying new things on for size, having that experience, and then going, wow, that wasn't as bad as I thought. That was actually good. I like that. That felt really good to me. I might accept help more often from people. I know. Is this a radical departure from yesterday or what?
That's a pretty significant change for you in less than 24 hours. Well, 24 hours, I guess.
But for those of you who don't understand, this is what Tom and I help people with. The reason, just so we can break it down, because I think it's important. It's not just that I flick, whoa, that's echoey. Don't do that again. It's not just that I was like, oh, I got to try this. It was, we talked through it yesterday. I shared all my fears. I shared all of the things that were going through my head, both good and bad. And then you said, well, what about this? What about this? And then we got to the point where it's like, okay, let's see if there's a shift to make. It wasn't a big shift. It was, hey, if someone offers you help, accept it. If you need help, ask for it. And that, while that seems very big, it wasn't a big thing, because I knew if it didn't work out, if I had said no to the woman this morning, the world wouldn't have ended. I could have come on here and said, Tom, you're not going to believe this. Woman walks up to me. She's offering to help. And I go, what the hell's your problem, lady? Leave me alone. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. It's dark. Go away. I could have done that. I would have done that. And I think that's the shift. If you want to talk about how you're a renegade, how you can be a renegade in anything you do, it's being willing to change, to try different things on until you find the thing that feels right for you. If it had felt really bad to me this morning, I could have come into Tom. This whole accepting help thing really scares me, makes me just want it. And that's what we do when we talk about what Tom and I offer people. It's the sounding board to go through these things. How did it feel? What was the experience? How can we move just a little bit today and a little bit tomorrow? And I think it's important to talk about that, because we talk about the value of celebration, but what we're really celebrating every time, Tom, is, hey, you shifted ever so slightly or hugely. And those shifts are what lead to you carving your own pathway to success.
Sure. And I think the other thing too is that had that felt uncomfortable, that's okay. Because not everything that we go through and we consider is going to have the same impact on us. It might have been like, that was a little too far. I don't, there's some things that people can help me with. And you could have said, you know what, I really appreciate it. It's so nice of you to offer. I'm all right. Thanks so much. And you could have done it in a way that at least made her feel good for offering.
Yes.
And I think that's part of it, is that when people offer, we don't always have to accept. I think the key thing is that we at least acknowledge how maybe difficult it was for them to offer that help. To go up to some strange guy in the middle of the morning, not that you're a strange guy. Well, maybe you are, but anyhow, someone they didn't know, just walking along the beach and offer some assistance. For some people, that would be extremely difficult to do as well. And so acknowledging her willingness to do that, I think is great. So it just is, this could impact where you are. And I think every time we do things like this, it allows us to set those boundaries of those guardrails of where we want to take this. So you tried it and you liked it. So your guardrails expanded a little bit. That may have a significant impact on how you're able to move forward with what you're trying to do. So I love the fact that you actually took that step. It was the next step, and you were willing to take it. So kudos to you. Way to celebrate.
Thank you. What are you celebrating today, Tom?
I am celebrating that I had a really good workout last night. It was hard. And the first part of it was a 12-minute run, which was pretty much at 3 minutes at your push pace, which is a mile or two over something, a mile an hour or two over what you could do for 20 minutes or so. So if you took whatever your kind of base, so there's a base pace, there's your push pace, and then there's all out. Complicated, I know. So it was 3 minutes of that, 1 minute of your base pace, 3 minutes again of a push, 1 minute of your base pace, and 3 minutes of a distance run. Like, how far can you go in 3 minutes? And so I got on there, and literally, because I think of some of the workouts that we've done in the past, my legs felt dead. And I was like 2 minutes in, I'm like, this is not good. I just feel like stopping because my legs just don't feel like they're fresh enough to do this. And, and I think one of the beautiful things about being in a group like that, because there was a large group of people who were participating, not large, 20 people, is you look around and there's a coach behind you chatting to the whole group. And you're like, I'm not going to stop. I know this is painful, and I also know that it's helpful. And so the fact that, again, I was able to put some of that pain aside and just focus on the next step. And actually, honestly, that's sometimes what it felt like is, okay, if I can just keep moving my legs, I'm going to be okay, and I'm going to get through this.
And that's how life is, right? That's how business is.
Absolutely.
There are days when it's just getting through.
Correct. So that's a little bit of celebrating. And we try to do that every day. Bob and I share that. And then, because that's a little bit about us, now we want to make it about everyone else. And we hope that if you have one thing you're celebrating, feel free to share it in the comments if you're watching this. We also pick something out, the National Day, and we celebrate the National Day. And Bob is excited, which is interesting because I would say about 85% of the time, it's not, I haven't measured it, but you're very excited, and share how excited you are and how much I'm going to like the day that we choose. So let's hear it.
It is National Working Parents Day. And I think it's a really important moment that renegades, the struggle to be a renegade, I don't have children. I marvel at people who can manage their business pursuits and their family pursuits. And I think of people like Jean Bourne of Born to Travel, who we've gotten to know over the last year. And she is so good at, this is family time, this is work time, this is family time, this is work time. And there are others that do it. And I marvel at that. That is something I don't think I would be nearly as productive if I had to come home and deal with kids at 5 or 6 o'clock. Every time someone says to me, oh yeah, I've had a really long day at work and now I have to go home and deal with my kids and make them dinner. And I marvel at that. That is to me one of the most complicated things in the world. And I think parents often just do it. It's like, I have no choice. And I get that. But to be able to build something and to be able to go to work and focus on work, especially, I was talking to someone the other day and she's like, I have to leave. Like, what's going on? My kids were near someone who had COVID, and so they have to come home for a couple days, like 10 days. That's that upsets the apple cart, and that could happen at any time. So to me, National Working Parents Day, to all the people out there who have managed to follow their vision to create something unique to them and maintain a family, I am in awe. Like, there is no higher calling to me than being able to do those two things really well.
No, that's a great day. I'm glad that was today. I don't know why I'm glad it was today. I'm glad that it was chosen to celebrate, because I think that there's so much that goes into, it's one thing, technically I'm a working parent. Technically, my kids are all over 21. All are out, have their own jobs and things.
But you've helped them move.
No doubt.
You've helped them with logistics. You've taken them to the airport. It doesn't end.
No,
right?
That is true.
It might be easier when they're older.
Yes.
But it may also be more difficult when they're older too.
Well, they have different challenges. And so I think the challenge is, it's not like, oh, I got to pick them up from school. It's, all right, what do I do with this benefits package that I'm looking at? And how do I figure out like what health insurance to take and what retirement issues to do? And so it is a very different set of challenges. And I think that, it's interesting because I think people think that it used to be so much easier when there were single parent, when there was a one working parent working. Yeah, I'm going to put that in quotes. Because I think the difference was, and this was the traditional model, the male would go off to work and the female would stay, or the mom would stay home and take care of the kids in the house. And I think people for the longest time thought that the working person was just the person who left the house. When in reality, the person who was staying home was truly working and doing work that was very different, but it was still challenging. And, and I think the roles were so defined that people didn't really realize, someone would come home from work exhausted. Well, all right, you've got the person who was there all day working, who's now also exhausted. And yet the expectations were very different. And so I think that, anytime you're trying to juggle multiple things. And being a working parent, you are definitely juggling two significant things. It is challenging, and I think one of the things that's identified is that sometimes people don't like it. And
Really?
so they try to create an opportunity or an experience or a lifestyle that allows them to manage it. I mean, I have to say I was very fortunate for them, is that my job was flexible enough in some ways. So like I think I missed one appointment with my wife when she was pregnant going to the doctor. And, I think if you ask most people,
that's pretty good with 3 children.
Yeah. I mean, I had a job they knew that I was working all sorts of different hours. And so there were times when I was away, when I'm sure and traveling, that it would have been really helpful for me to be around. And so that was, there were some challenges there. And at the same time, it allowed me to do that. So I felt if I had a job where I couldn't leave the office, I was, whenever I got in to when I was traveling all the time, I think it would have been, I would not have felt as good about where I was at. But I was at a point where I could help with the kids. I could run, pick them up, drop them off maybe at a babysitter, and then go back to work or work from home or do whatever. And so, and still, it was a challenge. But I think what's happened is people are finding that role more and more difficult, and they're trying to find ways to make it work. So kudos.
And it gets even more complicated if you have parents that you're also caring for, that sandwich generation, which so many of us, that can come into play. You've got your parents you're taking care of and your kids you're taking care of, and you're just stuck in the middle negotiating that. And, you and I are getting to that age where that happens more and more.
Sure. Absolutely. So it's kudos to the national, whatever the calendar people for selecting. That is one that definitely deserves to be on that list.
Let me throw some comments in, Tom, if I may. Tim says, my youngest is 30. I talk to my boys all the time. I'll always be their dad. I love that. I love that. I love that commitment. They don't turn 21 and then you go, okay, I'm done. Bye-bye.
Yes.
And Pamela says, Pamela lives in the Baltimore area, and she says that the schools are closed today. My 7-year-old is with me while I work today. My husband works in silence as office, and I manage around noise at home. Every day is different, but I get small nuggets of family moments throughout the day. And Tom, if you remember, there have been 1 or 2 times, I believe, when Pamela's been on calls with us on Zoom, and we've seen her child, and it's just so much fun. One time I was having a discussion with Pamela, and her daughter was playing with Nutella. It was priceless, just priceless. It's one of those calls that I will never forget. So thank you for that, Pamela. Thank you, Tim. So Tom, let's move to our idea of celebrate. And oddly enough, I think the last 18 minutes has been celebration. Absolutely.
And I think that's, that is one of the things that I think we so often forget to do. And I think as renegades, I think it's incumbent upon us to be sure that we are finding ways to celebrate. Even in Pamela's comment about the challenges of working from home, the last part was a celebration of she does get to enjoy small nuggets of family time. Like there is a celebration in that. And I think the awareness, being aware of that, and then also taking the time to celebrate it is really a way for you to see that this can be done. If you don't include that little piece in that comment, you can see how challenging it is to sometimes to work from home with kids. And yet at the same time, you have the opportunity to understand the value and the benefit and why it is worth a celebration. And I think, that's a key piece. Things are difficult. Nothing that we do in life is easy. I don't think it was ever made to be easy, whoever created where we are. And so I think that if we find times to celebrate as often as we can, I think it will remind us of successes that we've had, and also that there is a lot of good in all the things that we do and things we're celebrating. So let's take a moment, stop and do that.
I would add something else in Pamela's comment, the idea of small nuggets of family moments. Doesn't have to be a huge thing. It could be, hey, could you do me a favor and play your game for the next 15 minutes because I have a call? And if the child actually spends the 15 minutes and you get to complete your call, that's worthy of celebration. And I love that it's just small moments, not, oh, I had the perfect day, but the moments. And I think the more I think of being a renegade and the more I look at my renegade life, the more it's the small things that make the big difference, not the big things. The big things, it's the whole saying of enjoy the journey, not the destination. I really think to enjoy the journey, you have to take the small moments in and say, wow, that's just, if Pamela gets to have lunch with her daughter and they have a great discussion, that's huge.
Certainly. There's no doubt about that. And I think, then figuring out how you will celebrate that is the next piece to it as well.
And Tim is celebrating this morning the fact that we have two very different styles. Tom buttoned all the way with a bright pink shirt. Bob, 2 buttons unbuttoned and a dark black shirt.
It's amazing that Tim has probably of all the people who listen, Tim has probably listened or watched the most episodes. That it has taken him 407 episodes to finally realize that my shirt is almost always buttoned to the top if it's a polo, and Bob's is almost never buttoned.
And he didn't even comment on my shirt, which has the logo he loves so much with the brand he loves so much.
I know. I noticed.
That's probably coming any minute now.
Yes.
So, Tom, we've talked about celebration. We've talked about it from the perspective of a renegade, largely, but I want to add one thing. To be a renegade, to carve your own path, to get where you want to go is going to require lots of steps. And every step needs to be celebrated for getting you closer. Even if it is horribly flawed, it does get you closer because you have the knowledge, perspective, and experience that take you forward. Even though it may feel like you've stepped way back. Oh, that was really bad. I didn't like that at all. You know more at that moment than you knew before. And I think that's where you and I really have come to realize that the biggest challenge we find when we talk to people about their business pursuits, about being a renegade, they don't celebrate. They mire themselves constantly in, oh, this is so hard. Oh, I should have made 10 sales calls today and I only made 6. Oh, I should have done this. And we celebrate the 6. Yes, the 10 would be nice, but we celebrate the 6. Or we celebrate the fact I have someone I was dealing with yesterday who talked to a couple of people. That was a huge step for that person. And they asked me if that counted. And I'm like, everything counts towards going forward. What's Tim writing? I see Tim's got another comment. I'm going to put it up without reading. I always comment on BPS. I thought I'd give it a break and comment on the different styles because not everyone has watched 400 episodes of today's Antidote.
That is fair. Very fair.
Wait, you mean everyone's not watching all 400?
There are some people who have watched, I bet, pretty close to 400.
To those people, we should have a national day to celebrate you.
Correct. Well, we're working on that. I'm working on that.
So, Tom, as we talk about celebration and being a renegade, what's your one thing today?
So we've talked a lot about celebrating things the actions that we've taken, right? And I think that is very valuable. I want to talk about how my one thing is about how considering those celebrations and really defining what it will be can help drive us to complete what it is we're trying to complete. I think one of the episodes we talked about this, I think yesterday or the day before, about when you were trying to use your rowing machine more often and we couldn't figure out how to do it. And we were sitting at Nally Fresh down near Baltimore. And we talked about, setting yourself up for success. And I think one of the ways to set yourself up for success is to have a plan. And it's also to how are you going to celebrate once you complete it? Because again, to go from something that you're struggling to do and actually do it, that is worth a celebration. And so, and again, celebrating all the steps in the middle make a difference. And having something that you are driving towards that that will impact who you are and how you be. And it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have to be a big thing, but I think defining how we will celebrate will help drive us towards where we want to go. I clearly remember exactly how you were going to celebrate once you rode every day during that week. And it wasn't anything huge. And yet it was something that was going to bring you a lot of joy and satisfaction.
Yeah.
And I think the knowledge that that is out there, it's a little bit like a carrot, and that you could do it. Now, what I would say is that I think it provides us with a great opportunity to set ourselves up to see and then have memories of how we celebrated and the difference that it made. Because while I think you could have still rode every day, I think the idea of rewarding and celebrating at the end of the week helped you get there.
I also think it gives us the impetus to keep going.
Sure.
When we celebrate, it says, hey, I did this thing. I'm taking a moment to celebrate. And I always like to reflect on, like, wow, that wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it would be, which is about 98% of the time. Rarely is it harder. Usually Bob's mind makes something way more complicated than it could ever be in real life. And when I realized, it's like, wow, that really scared me, and I did it. Not the end of the world. I should celebrate that. And sometimes, again, it doesn't always work out.
Sure.
Want to know the truth? I haven't touched the rowing machine in probably 16 months.
Okay.
I'm doing other things. So be it. Does that mean that the exercise that we went through and the success I had for a couple weeks celebrating it was flawed? No. It gives me the thought that, hey, you know what? I can commit to that if I want to, if I choose to. And the commitment I made to rowing that I really didn't enjoy a lot, I can make a commitment to other things I really don't enjoy a lot and celebrate those. And that's how it starts to help itself, and that's how it starts to move you forward. Is as you celebrate something, you start to lose all that was really hard, oh my God, so scary, and move into, wow, I did that. Now let's go to the next thing. And that's what you and I see with the people we work with. It's once you get them moving forward, they are unstoppable forces.
Sure. And I think when you stop always considering the results, right?
Yep.
It was just you took the action, and that in and of itself is worth the celebration, because it's usually the action that's really hard, and it's always typically it's a bigger thing. You know, it's not the little things, which are difficult in and of themselves, and yet when we kind of break it down and say, okay, like that in that example, we broke your day out. We defined how you were going to get up, how you were going to take, what you were going to do to set yourself up for success. And each day there were little steps to make that happen. And I think that that's the beauty of it, is that when you look at the totality of something, it can be overwhelming. Like in actuality, when you think about accepting help, you know, when we talked about it yesterday.
Now I'm starting to really think about it.
Well, when we talked about it yesterday, it was a big, I think you were thinking about, well, getting help like with my work or all these other big things that are really hard to do. And the first example of it was something so simple and so, in some regards, not easy, but different to accept, that you were like, well, I could do that. That wasn't so bad. Well, if I can do that, how can I apply the same philosophy to other things that seem hard? And sometimes just breaking down to, if I take one little step, it gets me a little bit closer to where I want to go. Even if the results weren't exactly what I expected, I learn from it and then I move forward. And I think finding ways to celebrate the actions that we take. Again, we talked about this before, but those are the things we control, right? We can't control anything else. You can't say, I guess you could say to somebody, hey, could you come over and you could ask for help. Could you come over and help me fix this jacket? I messed with it. And okay, that's the thing you can control. They could say yes or no, walk away, think, who is this crazy person, and leave. And so I think even that fact is that you would take the time to celebrate. I did something that was a little bit out of my comfort zone, and that is worth doing. And if I can celebrate that, what else can I celebrate?
And I think my one thing would be to celebrate the smallest steps that you take. It's not, oh, I was supposed to make 10 sales calls and I finally made 10. That's worthy of celebration. But on the day you make the first sales call and the second sales call and the third sales call, or you make one day and you make 3 the next day, whatever, or you pick up the phone for the first time and actually think you're going to dial the number. All those things are steps in that process that you've got to, like you said, you move out of your comfort zone, and we need to celebrate being out of the comfort zone, because I think what celebrating does is it brings it into the comfort zone. And so now your comfort zone gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And before you know it, you're doing things you didn't think would be possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think we should celebrate. We need to find out what we're going to celebrate for what we did today. What are you going to do to celebrate today, Bob? All this that we did this morning.
My wife is joining me at the beach tonight. We're going out to dinner tonight to her favorite restaurant at the beach. So I'm excited about that. I've been cooking my own food for the last 9-10 days, and I'm ready for some good food. You know how that goes.
I understand. I understand completely. Awesome. All right, folks. Well, thanks so much for being with us today on this episode of Today's Antidote.
What are you going to do to celebrate today, Tom?
It's funny. I'm going to stay with the same theme. My wife has been away. She had to go up to New York for a funeral of a friend of a close friend. And there's a little brew pub not far from us that she's going to meet some friends, and I'm going to go up there and take some time and just relax in a nice place with my wife. So
awesome.
I'll do that. Yeah. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on today's Antidote. If you have something you'd like to share, please, and you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook Live, please put it in the comments. If you're listening to the podcast, please feel free to share, give feedback, like, subscribe, share it with your friends, so that we can expand our message and that others out there can start to better understand that they also are a renegade, and maybe they'll celebrate that as a part of it. And hopefully the message of celebrating working parents will continue throughout the day, and that actually those working parents will take a moment to stop and celebrate all that they have been able to accomplish as a part of a very challenging and difficult role that they play. And also, as Pamela reminded us, has its very rewarding moments as well. So thanks so much for being with us today. We look forward to seeing you inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. So if you're not a member, please feel free to join. Just go to Facebook, search for Ring of Renegades. Now, it is a private group because we want to create a space where people can share that information, share and be a little vulnerable with a community that's there to support them. So all you have to do is ask to join and tell us why you're a renegade. And you can become a part of our growing community where we are helping renegades take their next step along their own unique pathway to success. And with that, we will look forward to seeing you inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, or we'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, for our next edition of Today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace that renegading you, especially you working parents.
Nice. Thanks for listening to Today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.